This is 3 victims we spoke with in 2 days, minus the time it took to put the videos together. Trust us on this. The one here and the 2 we spoke to in the 6-hour, 44-minute video we did yesterday are nothing of the American horror story perpetrated on innocent children and their families. In the following interview, 5 children were separated from their loving parents, not all at once, but incrementally. If you believe that the court system can be used to solve the problem by prosecuting the criminals, keep dreaming. In a vast majority of cases, I'll bet that the courts are involved and on the take. See our last video. We are asking and hoping that the criminals at the nexus of the enterprise lock up their own co-conspirators. CPS is a government-funded criminal enterprise. Period. If you think that something like this cannot happen to you, wake up.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Jennifer? How are you? I tried to call you the day before yesterday, but I guess you weren't home.
I caught it. No, I saw it. I grabbed it, and it's one of those, it just disconnected, so I missed you. But I called you right back, and you were already on your next call, I guess.
Yeah, well, we knocked it out of the park with the 6-hour, 44-minute video.
Yeah, I ingested some of it. My goodness.
And this is nothing. This is one of thousands. This is
I know.
This is only thousands.
They got it.
Doing this shit.
It's rigged. It's rigged. They got so when they took our 3, the child support is just a little bit more than we could afford on top of paying our attorney and paying the parenting classes and the individual therapy and the marital counseling, and it's so rigged. It's so rigged. It's designed so you can't ever get them back.
Unreal.
It is. Yeah.
You got a few minutes? You want to talk to Will Kanishi?
Yeah, I did. I didn't get an opportunity to listen to the whole thing. So. Okay, yeah.
You want to do it now?
Let me call my husband on the other line, and I'm sure he will be pleased.
Okay, yeah. and while you got him on the other line, I'll get Will Kanishi on this one, and I'll switch back to you. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Hold on.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Will? I got Jennifer on the line. Jennifer and her husband. If you want
you want to do one?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, hold on. Okay, Jennifer, you still there?
Still here.
Okay, on the phone is Will Kanishi from the Will Kanishi channel, myself from Inglorious Patriots, and I have Jennifer and her husband. You want to say hi, Jennifer?
Hi, Dave. Hi, Will. Say hi, hon.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hi. May I call you Will?
You most certainly can.
Great. Hi, Will.
Well, Jennifer, why don't you get into what you told me the other night? Let's take it from the beginning and try to be as precise and chronological as possible. This way we have some kind of a basis for establishing that this is not something new, that this happens every day, and 1 or 2 people are just a small, minuscule sampling of what is really going on in this country today. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Sure. In 2015, on the first day of our then youngest child, his pre-VPK, it was like a pre-K program, he was sent to his first day with a minuscule scratch on his nose. We were aware that the scratch was there. We had addressed it. We had treated it appropriately. I am a former medical professional, so I know that you put a dab of Neosporin on that little tiny itty-bitty boo-boo. It'll scab over by the following day and be, in the past, within 24 hours, which it was. His teacher decided to, rather than address it with me, look, are you aware of the injury? Of course we're aware of the injury. We treated it appropriately, bygone. Rather than discuss the matter with us, she called 911. They showed up at our house. CPS. The CPS investigator showed up at the house while my husband was there alone and I was at work. Naturally, when you got nothing to hide, you let them in. And they made us an appointment with the investigatory branch, CASA, the Court-Appointed Special Advocates. It took them about a month before we ever got that appointment. At that appointment, they took our 3 children. Now, mind you, it was only one child that had anything, a bruise, a scratch, a nick, anything whatsoever. Took them all into separate rooms, questioned them individually, never recorded a syllable. There's no video, there's no audio, maybe some scratch notes on a yellow legal pad from their princess over there. I'll just call her AB.
And we were not allowed in there.
We were not allowed in the room. We were not allowed to see, on the other side of glass, what they were asking, if they were asking leading questions, if they were conditioning the children, if they were telling them what to say. But when they came out of that room, and the children's attitude toward us was, "So how did everything go, guys?" None of your business is what our previously obedient, and you could never make a case for neglect. I'll get into that later. Children, that was their demeanor toward us. Their comportment had changed, their body language had changed, and they were no longer the same individuals as had went into that room. Carefree, boisterous, joyful, your typical 3, 4, and 5-year-olds at the time. 4, 5, and 6-year-olds at the time. After that encounter, we have not had a moment alone with those kids since. They were given over to another family. We've had to jump through the flaming hoops of the system, which are, I'll tell you, it's not designed to get the kids back. It's designed to bleed you dry, so much so that you're penniless at the end of it, and maybe you just give up. But they're in the system at that point. We continued to follow with all of DSS's recommendations, parenting classes, individual and marital therapy, anger management classes, you name it. Mind you, I've already got an education superior to that of the instructors of these classes, but I'm playing their game because I know it's the only way that we're going to get these kids back. They tried to brainwash us into thinking that we had anger issues and to stating that we were hyper-religious or far too insistent upon a constitutional approach to this, please. Threats, intimidation throughout the whole entire thing, and we are now, instead of being able to devote the almost $1,000 every month that would be for our households, for our, for the betterment of the family, for whatever charities, whatever ministries, it's not available. It's got to go to another family. This has been going on since 2015. Every time we've gotten a supervisor that was favorable to us, instantly the tide turned. We suspect it, and this is our opinion. We were instructed by our lawyer to make sure that it's our opinion that they have been influenced. Because as soon as we get a favorable report from a supervisor, ready to go before the judge and say, you know what, Your Honor, I think they're ready for unsupervised visitation with their non-custodial children. I think they're ready. Instantly the tide changes.
And all of this crap started because of a scratch?
The scratch was literally, Dave, trim the fingernail on your pinky finger when it's not even ready to be trimmed. That's the magnitude of the lesion that we're describing. I wouldn't even document it if I were in a hospital setting. It was not even, it's nothing to document. If I'm in the hospital and I see, 2 wounds and that's one of them, I'm not even going to comment on that one because it's already got a scab on it. It's not going to get infected. There's nothing to comment on. It was treated appropriately. I used to get accolades in my career before motherhood for my wound care knowledge and acumen, for the results that I got. And to have them try to use that, it's staggering the amount of people that have stories like this, just bleeding me dry, hoping that we run out of money before the child turns 18 and nobody else can profit off of them. Never had a complaint from any of my preceptors in my medical career. Never had a note of reprimand even in terms of how I cared for others. I was a youth group leader from ages 18 to 20, mid-20s, at a time when there were no limits on how many children that you could care for. Nowadays, you could have, up to 6 children per one adult caregiver. We didn't even have those limitations when I was doing this, and they're trying to claim that I'm...
And what did they say happened that caused this little bitty scratch? Did they ever allege something that caused this scratch?
Oh, yeah. Yep, they started with allegations of, well, your children described a chair in the room. Now, the CPS investigator has already been at the house. They've probably already inventoried our chairs and tables and whatever. They got that information.
Why the hell would they want an inventory of your chairs and tables? What the hell does that have to do with anything?
So that, well, I'm just stating they had that knowledge ahead of time. When you have nothing to hide, you let them in. Anyway, when we get to court, your children are stating that there's a blue and yellow chair in the house, and it got thrown. It was a recliner. Your Honor, if my 6'2" husband, who was also at the time, a substantial muscular build, if he had hauled the chair across the room and it had impacted with our 4-year-old, it would not have resulted in a minuscule scratch. It would have resulted in death, traumatic brain injury. He would have been on life support. It was an absolutely preposterous several hours of our court-appointed attorney against the CPS attorney, with really a joviality in that room it was horrifying. They have these children's lives in their hand, and they're sitting there joking with each other. Okay, so it wasn't the chair. Okay, so, and they just kept throwing up postulations, obviously ridiculous postulations, to which you can't prove a negative. This never happened, but you can't prove it, so they win.
You got it.
So let me ask
they
you
maintained.
this. Which state are you in?
We are currently in Florida so that we could get away from the continuous and ongoing preposterous visits from, they're called CPS and DHS in Tennessee. This all occurred in Tennessee.
In what county?
Sullivan County. And we are also not the only persons who were, they kidnapped first, asked questions later. Now, my question is, if there was such a realistic, a pressing concern that the children were endangered in any way, shape, or form, why did they wait a full month before making us that CASA appointment? Isn't the burden upon them to protect the children if the parents aren't? That's what we were told in court. If you won't protect your children, we have to. We weren't allowed to introduce any exculpatory evidence at all. I wasn't allowed to call the children's Boy Scout leaders. I wasn't allowed to call their catechism teachers. I wasn't allowed to call upon, all the report cards that they'd had up to that point. I wasn't allowed to let them sing in court. I wanted them to hear that the children knew by heart their Greek alphabet, their Hebrew alphabet, hundreds of other songs related to their faith community. It speaks to the opposite of negligence, the extent to which they were educated. The volunteering that they had done at that age, the different, they visited nursing homes, performed musically, distributed literature, and to even suggest that it was a state of neglect or abuse is preposterous.
So let me get this straight. Your child goes to school with a scratch. They call in social services, take your children into another room. When they go in, everything is fine. They, somewhere along the line, scared them, threatened them, intimidated them, and when they came out, their whole demeanor had changed. Said that your children...
Within that 1 hour.
Said that your children were at risk, but they took a whole month. They took a whole month
to make that appointment. They let us keep the children Yep.
So you were able to keep your children for an entire month, even though they were at risk. They bring a CASA in, and the CASA says, "Okay, we got to take the kids out of the house."
Yes, and we were supposed to get a 3-day emergency hearing. We were not granted it. We were given sorry, there's too many cases. We're so overwhelmed and backlogged. You got a 10-day, quote, emergency hearing. We were denied that. Yeah, if there was a legitimate concern for their safety or their state of neglect or not, yeah, waiting over a month, I think it might have been like a month and a day, waiting a month, that's the negligence. Of course, there was no legitimate neglect or abuse, but here we are.
And they've been in the system for 5 years.
It happened in, start of school year 2015. For the first year, we couldn't afford to, have the supervisor. To pay for a supervisor, we were only able to have like one visit for 2 hours once a month. And the following year, we started, being able to be in a position where we could have more contact with them and do our best to, maintain the strongest presence in their lives. But our other daughter had already been on the way, and we were being assaulted, literally assaulted, with fresh calls from the custodial individual to hopefully also get our youngest daughter. More grossly fatuous allegations of, this family doesn't have any food. They simply don't have diapers. They have no way of caring for their newborn. To which I would always let them look at the closet, take pictures if you need to. It's wall-to-wall fabric diapers in here, plus the disposable ones, plus the pantry is stocked for 6 months' supply of food. The investigator said to us one time, you know what, whoever keeps calling us certainly knows what to say to get us to come out. And we have to investigate every call, every complaint, so we keep coming out. We moved because every 90 days we'd have a new case. Every 90 days.
So it sounds like, this is what it kind of sounds like to me, okay? And I've been doing enough investigations here, and several weeks ago I just found out that there was sex trafficking through the foster care system, and as I've gotten doled more so into this, I'm finding more things out. So I'm going to throw some numbers out to you. The average foster care child for the state, whatever state you're in, that state gets $6,000 a month per child. So
sure. Obviously they have to create cases to keep the racket going. Yeah.
So as it stands, your children, after the average state pays $600 to the foster care parents. So your children are bringing in over, but I'll just narrow it down, $15,000 a month to the foster care. To
bear in
the state.
mind, after the first year, it was no longer a foster care situation. At this point, they like to regard themselves as, quote, a branch of the Universal Christian Church, stepped in, got themselves a lawyer, and fought us for the children. We've been paying them the child support. I guess at that point, it stopped being like a state case, and it became our combating that entity. And the agents so not only did they come in and take your kids out, and then every 90 days, look, there's some serious background noise somewhere. I'm trying to get away from the router. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
The closer I get to the router, it's the EMF signal distorts. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get away from it again.
All right. So here's what I'm gathering. I try to summarize everything up before I start, and get all the details. I'm ex-law enforcement, so that's just the way I work. So you got a complaint. It took them a month to investigate it, and then all of a sudden they said you're no longer fit parents. Took your 3 kids out. Then after you got ready to have your next one, which is number 4, every 90 days somebody would call in to make a complaint, and then come to find out there's some church organization out there trying to get custody of your kids.
Well, they were the ones who were given the children. They were given over to the. I'll abbreviate. I don't even know how to say it without. I don't want to get obviously sued for quote slander, but this quote arm of Universal Christian Church. The agents of that, they refer to themselves as pastors, went out and got themselves a lawyer. So it's at the end of the first year, they already had them, but at the end of the first year, now they've got what's called, quote, permanent guardianship. And instead of it being a, quote, state case anymore, it's now, we're fighting them to bring our children home, and paying the fighting, we're like funding the war against ourselves. And in essence, they get everything for free. They get their clothes for free. Anybody can walk up the streets and get free meals, 3 meals a day from this place. So, in spirit, their food is free. They don't have to pay for anything. School supplies are donated. They get, and we're paying for their lawyer. No. They're now, it's like a private. It's private now. It was for the first year. For the first year, yeah, everybody made out buku bucks. We paid for it.
No, but you don't understand. When the court ruled that your children, there's still some mega background noise. There's still some mega background noise.
Okay, I'm getting as far away as I can from the router. Let me know if that's any better. I'm outside now. Is that any better?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. All right, here. Still sounds like there's crashing going on.
No, I don't hear it on this end.
Yeah, I hear it on my end. It sounds like you're punching up a bag or something.
Oh.
Anyway, so when the court ruled that your children were taken away, did the court come back and dismiss that order and give full custody to this church organization?
They gave what's known as, quote, permanent guardianship. So there's like different categorizations. They could have asked for full custody, or they could have asked for PG. They asked for PG. I guess they figured they were more likely to obtain the PG status, knowing that they were leaving the city that this all transpired in. This couple gets bounced around city to city to city to city every 4 years as a part of their pastorate, I guess you'd call it. So they knew they were leaving. In 2016, they left, and now we had to, if we wanted to see the kids, we had to try to figure out a way. Our car really wasn't as roadworthy as the one that we have now. We had to try to figure out a way to try to have as regular contact and try to maintain that bond that the court claims is so very vital to deciding whether or not to reunify children with their family. He asked on a couple occasions, is there a bond? Is there a bond? Is there a bond? We did our best, we're doing our best even now to try to maintain that bond, but it's hundreds of dollars for the supervisor. The transportation, the lodging, the just desperately trying to find a way to maintain the bond. She ignores 1/3 of our phone calls. We have court-ordered 3 times a weekly phone calls. We only get about 2/3 of those calls.
So when it comes down to because what I'm trying to establish here and figure out on the legal end, they originally put your children in foster care. They dismissed that and gave basic custody to this church group of people who is now picked up and moved around and taken off to your kids. Is that the way I understand it?
Yeah, for the first year it was a, quote, foster care scenario. And, everybody was getting paid out of the state coffers. Judge had billable hours, all of the court-appointed attorneys, CPS attorney, CPS investigators, CASA investigators, therapists, counselors, everybody got billable hours out of this. On our dime, we had to pay for counseling, classes, our own transportation, time off from work to be able to cooperate.
Right. Everything that they said you had, all the hoops you had to jump through, you had to pay for. But within but throughout that year, the state of Tennessee was getting $15,000 a month and a little bit more for your 3 kids. So you start doing the math, you're up to the state of Tennessee got $180,000 into their state bank account or corporate bank account for the state for taking your 3 kids out. Then and then it sounds like after you've jumped through all the hoops that they asked you to do, they still wouldn't give you your kids back, and then allow this church group to pick up and haul with your kids. So that's basically legal kidnapping. And these
exactly. She begged us. She begged us all through 2013 and 14. She even kept me late nights awake until 2 in the morning. You're going to sign your kids over to me. You're going to give me your kids. Like trying to Jedi mind beep us. You know, hocus pocus. You're going to give me your kids. You're going to sign them over to us. She couldn't do it by convincing us to just give her the children. So when the fate turned in her favor, all she had to do was pay $5,000 to an attorney and they're hers.
So let me ask you this question. Up until the point of this scratch and this month wait for the investigation. So just answer my questions yes or no. Was there ever any abuse allegations towards any 3 of your children at any time?
No. The lady who taught his school was the only one who, in her opinion, they had to dial 911. Rather than come confront me and say, ma'am, are you aware of the scratch on Gavin's nose? And I would say, obviously, you see how well healed it is? That's because we put Neosporin on it. We suspect he was breaking a rule in the house, playing on the bunk beds, which is a no-no in our house, because we know how the state of Tennessee is. It's a no-no to be playing on the bunk beds without supervision. We even would put them in the bed, tuck them in, make sure that everybody was squared away, had gone potty. Nobody had had a drink of water to make sure nobody was getting out of those beds, because God forbid there's any kind of scratch, any kind of bruise. It's
so
now.
Let me ask you another question. Had the police ever been to your house about any kind of violence in the house between you, your husband, and anyone else around your children?
A neighbor once called because she felt as though the voices were loud enough to merit a potential domestic. There was no domestic. It was dispelled. Did he put his hands on you? No. No. What are you doing here? They did try to bring that up in court too. Domestic violence.
How long ago before this CPS involvement was that call?
What was that, July of that year, dear? It was summer. It was that within 3 months.
So it wasn't like the very next day or the day after. It was months had gone by. And granted, couples have arguments. I mean, that happens. Yeah.
It was like a trailer park that we lived in. So houses are 20 feet from each other. You can hear each other bursting. And they thought that the vocal level was enough to merit, I think there might be some DV going on over there. There was no DV going on over there when they, we tried to explain that to them.
So basically, the kids were being kids. One of them got a scratch on them, and social services came in after a month saying that you're unfit parents, took your kids away, and then allowed another group or through a church take your kids and then leave state with them. That's pretty much what I'm gathering here.
Left county. They moved 5 hours away within the same state. See, this particular quote church, they have jurisdictions. So this particular couple was generally not going to move out of what they call the KT division. They're not going to move out of their Kentucky/Tennessee. So they were going to be somewhere in Kentucky or Tennessee. Yes,
so
they took them 5 hours.
Let me ask you this. What is the ulterior motive that you can think of that this church group would keep your kids and not want to give them back
I've got
to you?
We've got a list. 1, stroking the ego of the self-righteous primaries. When you go in to become one of these holier than everybody else, and you're a pastor there, You derive a great deal of satisfaction being able to give away, help this one in crisis. It's doing the most good. They can advertise it on their truck. Look how much good they do. What if it hadn't been for this church? One of them posted on its Facebook page, thank God for men like you who stand in the gap for children that have no father figure. That was to one of our children that during the reunification process was born. And what if we hadn't adopted this child? That we adopted a child, I'm going to call him Jay. We adopted a child to this woman who has them now, to her spiritual daughter. Basically, yeah, it was, you're going to give me your kid because I'm the only witness that the judge is considering in the reunification case of the first three. So you're going to give your next born to my spiritual daughter who's infertile because of polycystic ovary disease. She's too fat to conceive. You're going to give your next born to her. And she did. She got her next born. So not only is it, she has to maintain the semblance that we are, quote, unfit, so that she can justify having finagled Jay away from us. I mentioned to you that she spent hours in her office trying to, you're just going to sign over the first three. You're just going to give them to me. And it's all going to disappear, nice and pretty like. They get, yeah, she did say that, behind closed doors at their facilities. Obviously, the video is going to disappear on that one. Even though they've got cameras everywhere, the video is going to disappear when I tell you the dates that we had those conferences and the times and how onerous they were and how lengthy they were and how she tried to get me to stay awake so late that I would fail training at my job at the time and hopefully never have enough money to combat her. So they get to keep Jay free and clear without ever having to feel bad about it.
So they were hitting you from all ends. They were trying to mess you up with your job so you couldn't fight them after they got your kids. And then the whole time they had your kids before they actually got them full time, they were grilling you about this. You might as well just give your kids over to us.
Yes, because we are the only people that the judge is considering in terms of testimony. And, you know, you want us to say something nice, don't you? You want us to say, Judge, we think they're ready.
So they wouldn't allow you to bring in anybody in. Because basically, this even though it's a civil matter, there's such a thing called exculpatory evidence. And exculpatory evidence. And
we have that. We have report cards. We have 20 different adult authority figures who would attest to, you know what, your children are amazing. You know what they fight about? They fight about who gets to hold the door open for people. Your children are amazing. When they were, and
they wouldn't allow none of those people to come in to testify on your behalf.
Absolutely not. Anytime I tried to, if I so much as raised my eyebrows in that courtroom, like, Judge, please take the kids in the chamber. Yes, Judge, can we present some evidence? Can I be called to the stand? Anytime I squeaked, I was told, here's what the judge called out: counsel your client. In other words, shut her up.
All right, here's what I'm going to say. Now, I haven't dove into Tennessee. Like I said, I was just going along doing some shows on my YouTube channel for Pizzagate, and I ran into this. I just stumbled into this foster care thing, and as I stumbled into it,
Only has a bunch of research too.
And I found out more and more, and whereas I thought I was going to do maybe one show or two shows on the CPS foster care system, I'm up to 5 or 6. I'm sitting here working on one right now. However, this is what I found in Arkansas. So just hear me out. And maybe something like this is going on in Tennessee because it sounds like it is. Okay. In Arkansas, there was money coming in from the government on grants. And if they didn't have enough children in their foster care system, it wouldn't have validated their grant to get their money for the following year. That was number one. Number two, they had set up a health organization and was funneling money through this health organization. This health organization was taking money, hiring lobbyists, and these lobbyists were going out and they were literally handing cash money to the foster care CPS caseworkers, along with judges, along with state senators and state congressmen. Then at that point in time, they were going and they were either taking kids from households, or they were getting, if kids were being taken from the household, they were paying off to make sure these kids went to certain facilities. Okay, but
yeah,
the point I want to make here,
exactly.
so the point I want to make here is, in that state, in that area, it was actually in about 5 states, but it was all run out of somewhere around Little Rock, Arkansas, and so forth.
President Clinton, he's the one that signed the state families. Yep.
Yep. They were bribing judges. They were bribing CPS. They even had a probation officer that was involved with this. They had, and what they were doing was to launder the money. They were going to schools, churches. Let me say it again, churches. They had preachers involved that were getting money for all this. So my thought process, knowing that system and what had taken place down there, it sounds like to me that something like that is taking place in Tennessee. That basically they came in, took your kids, went to this religious organization, this church organization, and this church organization is somewhere along the line, and I would love to see their books, or it sounds like to me this church organization has been gotten some money on this and followed through with it and taken off with your kids. But your children, your children have been legally kidnapped throughout by the use of the system. And out in that, when you said Sullivan County in Tennessee, somebody needs to go out and investigate that, because this whole thing, it's nothing. Something's not right in Denmark. That whole thing stinks.
Hamlet, yep. And Connie Reguli is an attorney. I don't even think she wanted to be an attorney. I think she changed careers because she realized that there was a dearth of competent, passionate advocacy. Connie Reguli, I'm on her website as well as someone else that you definitely want to speak with. She has more case studies. She's defending individuals, families. She's got her fingers on the pulse of what's going on as well in Tennessee, specifically.
So you just now, I was getting ready to do one more thing on foster care system, but I think I'm going to start looking up and see what I can find out about Sullivan County, Tennessee, because it sounds like to me there's something going on out there.
Yeah, and even the lady that came out to the house, we're not even sure this is her real name. What was the investigator's name, the tall, skinny lesbian, Michael?
You're talking about Eller?
No, that's the cop. I'm talking about Britt Hill. Britt Hill wasn't even working for the organization when we went to our court hearing. The girl that first came to the house, "Hi, CPS, my name is Britt Hill. Can I talk to you, please? We got a complaint." She wasn't even working for the organization at the time that it finally went to court, and we started the whole ball rolling on that. If you didn't have the what do you call it, the first-hand witness, so to speak, anymore, how can you continue to press the charge? And if it was so alarming, why was she fired? Did she just quit? We don't know the circumstances around that. It all just smells of switch these people out and transfer the workers. We were transferred social workers mid this, mid that, and nothing we did was good enough. Nothing showed up on time to every last one of our appointments.
There's something else going on here, because they when they decided to get your kids, it sounds like to me it took them a month to set it all up. Mm-hmm. And then they decided they were going to take your kids no matter what, because there's some ulterior motives back there going on. There's got to be. If there's no, look,
yeah.
Like I said, I try to be as objective as I can. If there's nothing else to this story, okay, there's nothing else to this story.
Oh, then there's more that this church tried to stoke conflict during 2011 through 12. My husband worked for this church, and then again through 13, 14. He did a brief stint as their quote shelter manager, their overnight manager, breathalyzing the homeless and giving them places to sleep. He worked for them. They tried at every turn to try to stoke conflict. Oh, Jennifer, Michael didn't show up for he said he was going to volunteer to wash the vans. He didn't show up. What's he doing? You know that's going to compromise your ability to blah, 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 blah. They tried to conflict, and even in the courtroom they tried to do this. Well, Your Honor, this couple has a history of conflict. It was a deliberate attempt to try to, I call it divide and conquer, and then profit off of the quote conflict that they tried to introduce. Jennifer, well, Michael's here overnight. He doesn't know what goes on at the house. He might be having men over and he doesn't know it. Michael, do you know what goes on at your house while you're working overnight in our shelter? Yeah, I wouldn't trust that. They tried to plant seeds of division and then try to capitalize upon it.
It's a shame because if I would have known you back in 2012 and you would have come to me with that story, you know what I would have told you to do? I would have told you to pack up right then and there, do whatever you had to do, and get the hell out and go somewhere else. Because this is not the first time I've seen where these organizations, whether it be a religious organization, some type of volunteer organization, some type of civic group, has people coming in and do exactly what you're saying, try to divide and conquer, and they have ulterior motives for doing that. And it also sounds like that they were trying to set you up for ultimately getting your kids for some reason. So, how many more cases do you know of this particular religious organization getting children? How many, off the top of your head?
There's 3 from us alone. They got Judah in 2013. They got Liam in 2014 because she had another member of her family was infertile, Jessica and Christopher Welch, who, as soon as they got Liam, hauled tail off to Rome. Oh, they were transferred. They were transferred within the religious organization to Rome. Yeah, well, it's an open adoption, so we have rights. It's written in the paperwork that we're allowed to see these children. We're allowed to show up at their birthday parties. We're allowed to bring them gifts. We have a say in their education. Boom. Hauled tail out of the country.
Okay, they've got your 3. But my question is,
they've got our first 3. Then they got Judah and Liam.
So how many of their kids? How many of your kids have they gotten?
This one couple has. Can I use their names? I don't know if you're recording or.
Sure. Okay,
this one couple has Christian, Karma, and Gavin, ages 10, 9, and 8. During the reunification, when the children were 5, 4, and 3, turned 6, 5, and 4 during the process. During that reunification, we gave birth to Judah. Judah wound up with Melissa's, the now permanent guardian, her, quote, spiritual daughter, Crystal, the one I was telling you about who's infertile. They wound up with our Judah. Well, if you don't sign them over to us, let's say there's another tragedy in your house and you have to pay child support on 4 children. You know you're not going to be able to fight that battle. You know, they get $750.
So let me get this straight. You didn't lose 3 kids. You got 4 kids you've lost.
No, 5. They got Liam in 2015.
So they got all 5 of your. They got 5 of your kids. This church
it's one religious organization. Yeah.
This church organization has been able to work the system to get 5 of your children.
Yes, with the threat and intimidation. Look, I'm the only witness that you have in the court, even sticking up for you. So you want us to say nice things in the court. You're going to give me Judah, and at the time it was Judah was on the way. You're going to give us Judah. Judah's going to be raised by Crystal and Benny. No. We told no, absolutely not. Look, I got a girlfriend. She's about to have an abortion. Will you take her Thea's kid? It's going to be dead in a week if you don't take her Thea's kid. Will you take her Thea's kid instead? You know, before he's DNC'd, before he's vacuum curetaged out of her womb, will you, church group, take this child and save this child's life? No, not your child. We'll take
let me answer this question. All right. So now we've established the fact that this religious group has got 5 of your kids. How many other couples or people have they taken children from this religious group? How many? 8,
they didn't go
10?
after anybody else. They don't go after their own. If they have people that are showing up Salvation Army every week, they get money for the attendance. So they're not going to go after this family and that family and this family and that family because they want those families to show up every week. They take attendance, they submit the numbers, and they get federal funding. They can also argue, look at all the poor indigent Appalachian families that we help. If it weren't for us, these families would be even more destitute than they already are.
So
they don't go after their own.
So this, yeah, but they went after you. There's no other. They got your 5 kids. Is there any other children that they've ever gotten from any other families? All right, I ask you again. They
don't even report. They don't even report instances of abuse or neglect. There was one family who, while Michael was
online.
Online. It's online. What, hon?
They've done. If you don't remember, we seen online that the Salvation Army is taking other kids before.
Oh, yeah. I think we were doing research a couple of years ago, and there was an intimation of it, but there was nothing. There was no details. You know, these are people just tweeting and throwing crap up in a comment section on some kind of board, some kind of message board. There was no specific detail, so we cannot comment on that intelligently. We're not firsthand.
So you're not aware of. You're not aware of this church group taking any other children besides yours?
Not of any specific cases, but Michael's right. We did have we visualized something on a message board or on a tweet or something that, oh yeah, the Salvation Army's dirty, no good. Instead of helping us, they tried to, they were opportunistic. When you come to the Salvation Army, you're in a desperate, dire need, and they tried to turn it on us. Well, holy cow, they did that to us,
It sounds like a RICO case to me. Sounds like a RICO. RICO, Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization. They recruited this church that they're going to shut up and they're going to pass the kids around to the members of the church who want kids, who needs kids, and who need the money. Those are the ones who need the money. Those are the ones who are taking the money. Never mind the indigent Appalachians. I love the way they just twist shit around. It's incredible.
Yeah, they're doing the most good on all their trucks.
So the bottom line is this church organization, with the use of foster care system, legally kidnapped your kids.
Yeah, they were opportunistic in the sense that she was just waiting for his pre-K teacher to call. I don't even know that she didn't speak to Carrie Madison beforehand. I suspect there's a possibility because she followed me into school the first day I went to register the 3 kids. She followed me into the elementary school. This is how you do this. This is how you fill out the paperwork. This is what you submit. Oh, the teacher's going to give you a list of supplies. You don't have to bring the tissue. Just bring, the most important things, the glue and the scissors and the paper. Don't worry about bringing the other. And she was like, thank you for holding my hands while I fill out a piece of paper. I can do this. I tend to think that she went to Carrie Madison. Carrie, if you ever see a bruise, a scratch, any kind of lesion whatsoever, don't try to discuss it with the family. Dial 911 because they have a history of conflict, and you're not going to get the truth out of the parents. Dial 911. Boom. 911's involved. She was able to exploit that dynamic. I wouldn't sign him over, but she was able to exploit the fact that now that the government had taken them away from us, Your Honor, we're standing here with open arms. And they gave them to her at that hearing. I mean, they gave, a month later. It was after the injury, and they didn't.
I'm kind of lost for words because, this is the first time I've ever heard of anything like this. I mean, for a organization like that to be able to come in and just totally take your children away through the foster care system and not give them back after you jump through all this.
I asked her 6 months ago. If she intended to continue to fight me, if she was going to continue to use my child support money to pay her attorney and continue to fight me. She's like, well, I do have what I want. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So what's your thoughts on this, Dave?
To me, I mean, I use the axiom about circumstantial evidence, and I'll quote it from a New York case. It says, the danger with the use of circumstantial evidence is that of logical gaps, subjective inferential links of low probability or insufficient degree. This case, from what you've told me, fails that axiom with flying colors. There is there are no circumstantial inferential links. This shit really happened, and it happened not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 5 times. So obviously somebody is after the kids, and like I've been saying for years and years, blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids, boys or girls, are premium commodities in this market. And if they could separate you permanently from those kids, they would be in grave danger. I'm telling you, I've spoken to enough people. I've been through the system. I know what I'm talking about. If they could separate the contact between you and those kids for any reason where you would never see them again, they would be in mortal danger. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to traumatize you any further than what you've been traumatized.
No, we know that's why she refuses our calls.
That's the fact. And because people don't believe it, because people want to believe that all of these people are such do-gooders, and there's nothing in it for them, and they're such Christian people that just Acts 11, we want to take care of the whole world. Bullshit. Total bullshit. They're evil bastards that need to be dealt with. And I'm not talking about in the courtroom, if you get my drift.
All right.
I'll tell you something, Jennifer, I'll tell you something, Jennifer. If I have an 11-year-old nephew, he's the South Jersey wrestling champion. He is the most articulate, well-mannered little boy I've ever met, and I've met thousands, because I was a scoutmaster for 5 years. In fact, 2 years in a row, I ran the Bushwick-Arlington camping chairman for Bushwick-Arlington. We used to go around to all the troops and talk to the scoutmasters and do training courses and all that type of stuff. So I know from whence I speak, okay? This kid his IQ has got to be up there. He's already like 130, 140 IQ. If they come in here and touch that kid, they will have to kill me. They will have to kill me, but not before I take out a whole bunch of them first. And that's the way I roll. That's the way I roll. I've been through enough bullshit in my life that I'm not taking it no more. I'll tell you, take another step, and the next step you'll take is out in the body bag. Now it's on you.
But they would have
you make a decision.
3 cops.
I know, but this is what it's going to come to, because you see where the legal system is getting you, right? You see what happens in the legal system, this gold fringe flag bullshit legal fiction they call a courtroom. You see where that's gotten you, right? That's the precise reason why the founders wrote the Second Amendment. When they get out of hand, the only way to fix them is to do Patriot shit. That's the only way to fix them. And there's no way around it. There's no way around it. You want to put? You think these people are going to go to jail over all this crap that they did over in Ukraine? Not if they control the FBI, they control the Department of Justice, they control the police departments, they control every agency right down to the dog catcher. So you short of locking and loading, you ain't going to win. That's my take on it, because if it was my family, I tell you what, I would die in a hail of bullets, but somebody's going to pay the price.
You have friends in high places. We're just average citizens.
I don't have any more. The only friends in high places I've got is people that I've met through their tube censorship, because when they started that bullshit and they took my channel down, because I posted my number and because my name is easy to find, and because I have a website with my name and my contact information, they started calling me. So now I have 1,500 names that I would never have had before. People would have been just listening to the channel and enjoying it, and can, you know, throw $10 here or there to support the channel, because I work 18-hour days since November 15th, 2016 is when I started this YouTube thing. And I've been working every day, 18 hours a day. You don't believe me? Ask Tony. I when I fall asleep, I'm dead. An atom bomb wouldn't wake me up, because I'm exhausted at that point. So I've been doing this. I talked to a lot of people just like you, Jennifer. You're not the only one. And we're trying to make the case here that, yeah, the 3 people that we talk to are just a minuscule fraction, an exponentially negative fraction of the people who are affected by this crap. And the statistics bear it out. Their own statistics bear it out. 800,000 children go missing in the United States every year. Oh, yeah, but half of them are recovered. And by recovered means, we didn't have enough. The situation didn't allow us to take them too. You follow what I'm saying? Those are the ones they couldn't get. Those are the ones that you know, due to the fact that they're throwing shit up against the wall to get these kids into this foster care system, and God knows what they do with them. They're definitely getting money for them, because the taxpayers are paying for this crap.
Right.
The half of them that are recovered are the ones we couldn't get. And I tell you what, I have a question for them. If you recover all these kids that were kidnapped by Chester the molester or who the hell ever is behind all this shit, why on your website, on missingkids.org, don't I see one video of a happy reunion between parents and children? Not a one. There's not one. Show me one.
Well, the kids are traumatized. They don't have the same joie de vivre that they had.
Now, if I was in law enforcement and I ran into somebody who had a kid, it wasn't his, and he kidnapped the kid, I would bring him back to his family, and I would make sure that before I got there, every fucking news agency and everybody with a camera is down there taking pictures and videos to post on the internet. Hey, Officer Dave Trent, he saved 2 kids out of a house. The guy was kidnapped, and he put the guy in jail. It was his collar, it's this, that, and the other thing. But you don't see that. You don't see that. What you see is Hollywood being involved in all this crap. You got multiple allegations against one person. I mean, the Me Too movement. Me Too, it cuts both ways. When somebody's got a lot of money, and you just know the guy, somebody comes forward and said, oh, well, he raped me back in 2000 in the non-existent abandoned farmhouse. And then I was, oh, shit, me too. He did that to me too. Who the hell's, and then everybody jumps on a bandwagon hoping to get a piece of the action. Just like it did with Michael Jackson. They did that with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson never touched a kid. He did more for kids starving in Biafra and all of that than any of these assholes ever did. And because he did that, he became their enemy. Because he did that, that man became their enemy. And they killed him. They murdered that man. Just like they murdered Robin Williams for doing that skit about the Pope and about moving the pedophiles around. You can't bullshit me. You can't bullshit me. I'm bullshit proof. I wrote a book called The Lie Detection Manual, How to Become a Human Lie Detector. I know the bullshit when I see it. Okay? And these people are corrupt, and the only way to handle them is to stop the recidivism rate, if you know what I mean. You can put them in jail, and then you're gonna pay for them to have 3 meals a day and a hot cot and medical care and all that shit for the rest of their lives. The hell with that.
I'm sure the other inmates would take it.
When you go duck hunting and you dispatch a couple of these bastards, that'll send a message. It might not stop it from happening to somebody else like a drug dealer. You take a drug dealer off the street, he gets shot. What happens? The next guy comes in and takes his place. You can't fix stupid. Yeah. But you know what? It stops the first guy that you wasted from doing it ever again. And it stops the taxpayers from paying for his upkeep for the rest of his life. It'll stop real quick. Sooner or later, you're going to run out of crazy motherfuckers who are going to take the risk and say, you know what? If they catch me, they'll whack me. They'll hang me. They'll They'll put me in an electric chair and fry my ass up. That's what it's going to take. Short of that, you're pissing up a rope. Just my opinion.
they're
So
asking.
we're, so now you're living in Florida. You have other children now?
Our daughter Kenji lives with us. She's 3. She's the most joyful child you want to meet. Carefree, joyful. She sings all the time, everywhere. She can read 2-word sentences. She can read 2 letter words.
But you had to pick up and leave the state of Tennessee for these people to leave you the hell. You had to move out of the state for these people to leave you the hell alone and stop stealing your kids.
Yeah, we lost a great deal too. We left most of our personal property there. We got half as much for our house that we owned. We didn't even get half what we paid for it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, not for nothing. There's going to be a lot of people listening to this and saying, "Wow, what those poor kids." But what are they doing about? You know, when are we gonna? I don't know when people are gonna wake up in this country. I mean, there's a lot of people awake, and I'm sure that we are the majority. But for the most part, I'm a peaceful person. Just leave me. Just the only thing I ask is leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't ask for much. Just leave me alone. Go about your business. Do what you do. Do you, and leave me the hell alone. Because once you step into my domain, you don't know who you're fucking with. And you can you can ask Groveland Correctional Facility. You can ask the Manhattan Corporation for Life Skills. You can ask a whole bunch of people that I worked undercover for Medicaid fraud controlling in 2006. I put people in prison. In 1972, I put people in prison. I put them there.
I missed it.
There's a company in New York called the Metropolitan Corporation for Life Skills. They're a scam organ. They were a scam organ. They got busted, and they had to pay back Medicaid $9 million, and a bunch of them went to jail. Same with Groveland Correctional Facility, case number 2001 HL0066. Department of Veterans Affairs Inspector General report closed down a whole prison program. They were scamming vets. They were scamming, the system to treat veterans for PTSD who never had PTSD.
Sure. Yep.
And that was like $15 billion from 1988 to 2000. So there is nothing in this country that has anything whatsoever, minuscule involvement with the government or not, that you cannot walk into that place with an open eye and a clear mind and find a snake under a rock somewhere. Not a one. I defy anybody to tell me that their government does them. What's the government do for me here? They don't do nothing for me. They collect my garbage and my recycle once a week. That's all they do. They drive the cop cars up and down the street. They bust a drug dealer. They take him to county jail. He's out on the street 3 days from when they bust him. And I know the guy who's a captain in the drug enforcement agency down in Camden, New Jersey. One of the most. In fact, they shot like 14 guys down there last month. They shot 14 cops. But you don't see that shit on the news because that's out of hand. The way you handle drug dealers is you handle them just like Thailand. You get caught dealing hard drugs in Thailand, guess what? You're going to be... No, they don't chop your fingers off. They weld the shackles around your ankle, and they leave you there to hunt roaches to eat. And then after you're half starved to death, they put you in an oven alive, and they light your ass up. That's what they do over there. They ain't playing. You don't got much of a drug problem in Thailand, even though it's right in the middle of the drug triangle over there. You don't have that problem over there. And the Taliban was taking these people that were growing poppy fields. They were burning the fields up and shooting the farmers who were growing the shit, chopping their heads off. All right, but we went and fought the Taliban because Taliban was hooked up with Osama bin Laden, who was dead 10 years before 9/11 even happened. And they made up bullshit stories. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit to get us into bullshit wars so we can go in and get the drugs and get the oil and get the kids. That's the three commodities that they're involved with: drugs, oil, and kids. Not necessarily in that order, because the kids are the most lucrative out of the whole bunch. I guarantee you, if the main export of Afghanistan was broccoli, we'd be nowhere near that place.
All right. This is what I was doing while you were talking. Just on a whim, I put in Sullivan County, Tennessee. Okay, and what I originally searched was the foster care system. That didn't produce anything, but there was this report here. It says Sullivan County, Tennessee filings. Now, if I remember correctly, you said in 2012 was when they started in trying to create problems between you and your husband, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. In 2012, in this report, it says how much money the Sullivan County, Tennessee, was missing as far as needing more money to run the county. And they were putting proposals in to increase personal property taxes to bring in $79 million more dollars to the county, because the county was having trouble. So it said the new rate would allow Sullivan County to collect $79.7 million from businesses and residents alike, as far as taxes on folks that lived in the county. So my question is there any correlation to this church starting in on you in 2012 versus Sullivan County having this issue where they needed to uprate taxes to bring in more money, and eventually things happen your way? I'm just trying to connect some dots here. It may not have nothing to do with it, but I'm just throwing it out there, and I'll leave it up to whoever's listening to say, hey, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah. Wait for this. Okay, that's California. It goes here. Absolutely. Like I said, everybody got paid. Kids are a cash cow.
Wait for this.
Yeah.
Wait for this, Mommy.
Okay. That was California.
Wait for this.
Where's Washington?
So she said, and she's only 3 years old. Yeah. So, is there anything else that you can think of that you could add to your story?
I think so.
Yeah, they did the same thing to an acquaintance of ours. There was an allegation of abuse. They kidnapped the kids. It took them a few weeks to get them back. The man's as gentle as a squirrel. You know, I don't know what's the comparison. He's the most gentle, Santa-like. And yeah, Daryl. They kidnapped first. They asked questions later, and I think he might have gotten his back because he plays the socialism game. You know, he accepts the food stamps and he accepts the government housing, and he doesn't have a car. We are hell-bent on remaining completely self-sufficient, not reliant on any outside assistance whatsoever. So we were loath. The social workers in the room were against us and in favor of giving the kids to the, quote, guardians. It's just, there's nothing, you can't do anything. You can't please anybody. I don't know what on earth makes anybody think that they have a right, to frame you first.
Well, any of these abuse cases are always flipped around as far as the burden of proof is concerned. I mean, if you're Will, he's law enforcement. He knows better than me, but I know the law too. If you're gonna accuse somebody, deprive them of life, liberty, and property, you got to have some kind of reason that a crime's been committed. A scratch on the nose is not an allegation that a crime's been committed. Hey, kids, you see, when I was a kid, I come home all fucked up from doing karate. I used to study karate down at the Goju Ryokai dojo down in Chinatown, run by Bruce Lee. We used to fight with weapons and swords and shit. I got a cut on my arm that's about 2 inches long and never fucking healed from that shit, from being cut with a samurai sword. I came home and my shit was bleeding. And I said, what happened? Oh, well, I should have ducked when I should have feigned or some shit, and it just cut me with the tip of the sword and cut my arm right open.
Clinton wasn't in office then. Clinton and his virtuous wife was not. They signed that Safe Families Act in, was it 97? Nothing's been the same since.
Well, this is the criminal cabal that's behind it goes further than Clinton. Clinton's just a puppet.
Sure.
And they're involved in child trafficking up to their ass. That's a fact. And
Yep.
I would just count your blessings that you still have contact with kids and you know where they are, because if you ever lose contact with the kids, it'll be forever.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the other thing that I was listening for and concerned about, that you at least have the contact, because if you didn't have that contact, then you have no idea what's happening with your children. See what I'm saying? And to a certain degree,
everybody knows it's too public. It's too public. They are a very, very big, internationally renowned, quote, church. And the fact that she has the children, she can't just completely disregard the court order. That will draw upon them unwanted negative attention. Oh, let's go potty. It will bring about we only get about 2/3 of the calls, like I was saying. We're supposed to get thrice weekly 15-minute calls. She always makes sure that they have an activity planned at the same exact time so that we get about 90-second calls as opposed to 15-minute calls.
Oh my God. I got to give it to you, because I would have been on a Sharon Tate murder spree long ago.
Well, then we will never raise them.
Well, so you're caught between a rock and a hard place, because the court system is corrupt, and I guarantee you, the judges in all these cases are on the take. They're all on the take.
Oh,
they have to be.
The king is in his counting house. If you know anything about what a judge makes, what do they make? Like maybe $200 a year. He's got wads of hundreds that he makes no. She's shameless. He'll walk through the halls with his wad and count it out and give some to this guy and give some to that guy. How they know that they think they're untouchable.
Well, they are legally untouchable unless you catch them in the act in such egregious shit that it would be almost impossible to do.
Right, they got the rules, such that they are untouchable. CPS can lie, which they did.
But like the Khazarian Mafia says, anybody can be touched. If you want to touch them bad enough.
Yeah, you got to have those...
and I tell you what, my great-nephew, any harm comes to him, that's cause great enough, overwhelmingly great enough, that I would go duck hunt. And I don't miss.
Hallelujah.
Straight like that. And my friend Art Bernglau was the same way. You can do whatever you want to me. You leave my family alone. You come and fuck with my kids and my family. Oh my God, you don't know what you're going to unleash upon you. You have no clue. And you can put a motherfucker behind a 20-inch granite wall, and I'll blow up the jail to get to you. I'm serious. I'm real. I mean, what else can you do? when you're fighting a corrupt system? What is your alternative? To sit there and take it?
Well, we contacted anybody with a forum. Hey, Steve Wilkos. Hey, Dr. Phil. Hey, Phil Donahue. Hey, Tatum Mooney. Everybody. Anybody we could think of. And, a couple would call back and while it was going on to try to gain some attention.
I hate to say this because I'm a peaceful person. I just want to be left alone. I'll give you the shirt off my back. Just don't stick your hand in my pocket. And I just want my kids and my family left alone. If you can't abide by that, then you bring down upon yourself whatever I decide to do. And the consequences are what they are. That's the way it's got to be. And there's no law in this country. It's all a joke. The whole system is a joke. Those law books, all that precedent you wouldn't have to have all those books if you had the common sense to know right from wrong. You don't need all of this legal bullshit. It's wrong to take a kid from his parents if there's no harm coming to the kid.
Right.
Right? Is that right or wrong? I mean, that's the right thing to do. If there's no harm coming to the kid and the kid is happy and he's being cared for and he's being provided for, there's no reason to walk in the door on some bullshit allegation, no matter what it is, and if you don't find any proof of neglect or abuse, to take that kid out of the house. There's no excuse for that.
It's an abuse of the court authority. Yeah.
There is no excuse for that. And I tell you what, there is an excuse for me putting a bullet in your fucking head because that's defense of an innocent person. That's defense of a third person. You're trying to harm my kid by kidnapping him, and I blow your fucking brains out. Who's that on? That's on you, pal, not me.
The punishment for kidnapping is death. In the Torah, in the Scripture, it's, your vehement, how you feel is absolutely consistent with what should happen. Now, it's a matter of, having the legal system reflect that. But that's the whole idea of the Second Amendment. And they're trying to take everybody's guns, so they're helpless. And then when the government decides to act like the Nazis did in World War II, and just go, oh wow, you're Jewish, you're coming with us, and we'll send you to Auschwitz or Birkenwald or whatever, and you can't do nothing about it. You can't defend yourself. If soldiers came to the door and half of them that came to the door got their brains blown out, the other half would think twice. But if the people that they're coming to get don't have the means to blow their brains out, guess what? They're helpless. They're helpless just as like a little kid is helpless.
What I would do if I was you, I would sit down and write out a summary of what took place. Basically, keep it short and simple, where you say, we were involved with this church organization, named the church organization. They tried to create turmoil between my husband and I for several years. One day when one of my kids goes to school, they had already talked to the teacher, and one of my children had a scratch on their nose. Teacher calls and reports us. A month later, they take all of our kids and continue to have the system take their children away. We tried to come in and give evidence that we were not bad parents. They would not allow that. And all they would listen to was this church organization. This is how I would basically word it. And here are all the people that are involved. Here's the judge. Here is the social service people, so forth. And I would send that to the Administration for Children and Families, to the Department of Health and Human Services, to the federal government. Let them be aware that this took place in Sullivan County, Tennessee, and what's happening and what's going on. And with the current administration that we have now, I got a sneaky feeling that it would get looked into.
Yeah,
really
I think
did.
Trump is signing. Yeah, he and
Yeah,
Ivanka was,
address it to Ivanka, because Ivanka's on this like, she's on it like a white on rice. So
Amen.
I would address it personally to her.
And I'm pretty sure.
Every time I've written to Trump about it, I've written in detail to Trump about it. He sends me, I've got like 5 letters from him now. I've forwarded your concerns to the appropriate organization. I'm going, no, the appropriate organization that you're talking about is the problem. But I'll write another good one. I'll write him another one. You bet I will.
So I would write it, and like I said, I would send it to the Administration for Children and Families. Write that down.
All my calls are recorded. I got this.
Okay, so you Google it, and you look for the what it does. It comes up the directory for government departments, and it gives you A to Z. And you go to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and then from there you click on the Administration for Children and Families, and then there's a place that you can go in and contact, and that's where I would write out my information, put the names, the dates, and I will keep it short and simple. Put your contact information in there and send it, and see if someone contacts you back. And I have a feeling with this administration, you will get contacted back, and when that happens, let us know, and by letting us know, we can give an update on your case. Okay?
Got a sticky baby here. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you have anything else, Dave?
Well, not that I didn't put it in the first video we did, and what I've said so far. I think I maybe said too much, but somebody's got to say it, because it needs to be said. It needs to be said. These people have to be dealt with, and obviously the legal system isn't going to deal with it. The legal system is in cahoots with them. The legal system and those people are the criminals together. They're in a conspiracy together, and it all revolves around money, and it all revolves around some either more nefarious stuff than even just taking money.
And I would also, if I was you, I'd take the same report, do the same thing for us, the state of Tennessee, go and find out who handles their Department of Health and Human Services. I'm sure they have a Child and Family Administration, and let them know the same thing too. And when you send it to the state of Tennessee, let them know that you have sent it to the government also. Now, by doing that, they might take it and throw it in the trash. I don't know. But if the state of Tennessee thinks the federal government's going to be looking at on this, then it might motivate whoever's on the other end. It just may motivate them to go look into Sullivan County. It sounds like there's some corruption going on there that needs to be looked into, and these would be the 2 agencies that would do it. Okay.
Right on. Thank you for your feedback.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, for telling your story. I mean, I can't imagine I couldn't imagine losing 1 kid, much less 5, to these evil bastards. Hopefully the president gets to see these videos, and I would reference the channel and tell him, look at these, or either send them an email, or get on his Twitter account and just put the links in the in the reply with comment, and hopefully it gets Ivanka's attention, because Ivanka is the lead on this, and we hate to promote any violence. We don't want it, but it's going to come to the point. I've been saying it for years. These people cannot be dealt with. They cannot be negotiated with. They are just going to keep doing what they're doing because they've gotten away with it for 100 years. And unless somebody stops them cold, there is no stopping these people. There's no, I mean, I don't know what.
if I'm not mistaken, I forget which forum I heard this on. Isn't there talk of actual tribunals actually occurring?
Yeah, well, we know two of them. We know for sure that two of them occurred. One with No Name, and the other one with Bush Senior. We know those two happened.
Bush Senior.
That's beyond any doubt. Yeah. And when people get on national news programs and they do the Freudian slip, you know the Freudian slip is the truth. That's what the law calls a res geste utterance. Okay? It's just like you walk into your kid's room and she's having a nightmare, and she wakes up and says, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," and she she says something that incriminates somebody. Oh, just out of the clear blue sky. You can take that to the bank, cash the check and spend the money. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So since you had asked about the military tribunals, I've been staying up on that a little bit. I'll tell you what I know. Military tribunals are being taking place at this point in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, down in Camp Lejeune, South Carolina, and in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. There were two prison barges, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. The one on the East Coast was up on Brooklyn Harbor, and they moved it down to South Carolina, down in out there. I want to say Charleston, but don't hold me to that. Right out, not too far from Camp Lejeune. Right around the same time George Bush Sr.'s funeral was being held. It's now down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and Trump spent $220-some million refurbishing Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. They built another 500. A facility to house another 500, not inmates, but guards, MPs, whatever you want to call them. There's a Camp 7 or a Camp 9. I forget. I can't remember if it's a Camp 7 or Camp 9. It's a camp within the camp. It's a maximum security prison. It's designed to hold 15 people. There's no one in it. But they just refurbished it. So I
don't even know why they're bothering with prisons, because these people, nobody wants to keep these bastards alive. I said, they put them on a short drop and a sudden stop and be done with them.
Well, the prison bars, in last report I heard, because I got to ask them some questions around, I can't confirm this, but a fellow told me that the prison barge had been seen going across the Panama Canal and has ended up in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba itself. So you got two prison barges down there off Gitmo. You got the military tribunals going. The reason why Jeff Sessions is out, the reason why Mad Dog Mattis is out, and there's one other general that was trying to think of his name. I was in the White House. Those three are heading up the military tribunal.
Wonderful.
Sessions, Mattis, and sorry?
Mattis, Sessions, and it was a general that was in Trump's White House for a while, then he left.
Okay. I got it recorded. I can always go back.
Yeah. So that's, I want to say McMaster's. McMaster's, does that sound right? So it sounded like he wasn't getting along with them. He used them out. The reason why they were there is to get this set up. Now, Trump also signed two executive orders. One of the executive orders was that if you are found guilty of violation of human rights, which is basically sex trafficking, the United States government can go through and seize all of your property, period. Your assets and everything.
Well, that's how it's supposed to work in all crimes already. If you're, building up a booty and you get busted, you don't have to keep that booty. That's all ill-gotten gains already.
But his order extends to other countries.
Oh, good.
So it's not just in the United States.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but how are you going to seize assets in a Swiss bank account or in a Cayman Islands account where you don't even know the account exists?
If you find the account, you can put the papers in, and work with that particular government to at least lock that account down. It may take you a couple years to get it, but you can at least put the paperwork in. And if you have now, if you don't have some type of agreement with that country, it's not going to work. But if you got to agree with the country will at least lock that account down until further notice till you prove your case or whatnot. So they may not get all their money, but they're going to get a whole shitload of it, number one. And then he also signed an executive order which changed around the military tribunals and basically included
civilians. You'd be a civilian. Yep.
That can be put into through a military tribunal system. The other thing that people don't stop to realize where Obama screwed the pooch as far as trying to look out for his cronies is he left 170-some judge positions open, and all total since then in the 3 years, I think he's up to 180-some judges out of the 400 Trump has been appointed. So he's almost got he's got at least 40% of the judges in the circuit courts in the district court are his appointees, and they didn't stop and realize that. That's going to come back to bite them big time. Oh, wow. And the last thing is being very familiar with the federal system. And I'll leave it at that. But we got 11 circuits and 12 if you count D.C. They're broken down into 94 districts. The average, the average year as far as sealed indictments in any of the 94 districts, a busy year is 800 to 1,000 sealed indictments. Right now they got over 145,000.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago, 145,000. That was 2 weeks. It's probably up to 150 by now.
Yeah, and there's also a retirement a retirement website that you can go to, and it was at 3,000. Now it's up over 12,000. And this retirement website profiles executives of corporations. They've either stepped down or literally been fired. 2/3 of those the executives have criminal charges against them. Most of them are financial charges. And reading between the lines, these were the people that were being used to launder the ill-gotten gain money from whatever they were up to, as far as getting money from out of the country, sex trafficking, drugs, or screwing over the welfare system through the foster care. So
refreshing. Thank you for that. Refreshing.
You're welcome. So I've kind of put my 2 cents worth on that. I haven't done I've gotten so busy finding so many things on the foster care that I'm doing so much on that I never thought I would. And then it's going to take me, I'll probably be 25, 30 shows as far as the Pizzagate's concerned. And
you could spend your life doing this, and you could spend your life doing it with all the stories I've heard. If I did a video on each one, I would crash YouTube servers.
And and then I have to stop every now and again because Rudy can come out and he's giving out information on Biden and the impeachment. So
since you mentioned that, Will, I as good as those videos are, the 3 that he did already. I'm going to play the devil's advocate. I'm going to say, if you ever get to court with this, I'm going to say you tainted my jury by putting this out there.
I think that.
How are you going to pick a jury if this is is so widespread? That's a two-edged sword, but he's got the paperwork to prove it. He's shown the paperwork. He's got the witnesses. I don't see how you're going to get around it. It's a slam dunk case.
This is being done on a bigger scale. It's not being done to prosecute a handful of people. It's being done to open up people's eyes of Congress appropriating this aid to foreign countries through the stimulus packages. The aid's going to these foreign countries and it disappears, and nobody knows where the hell it goes to. And
we never let that blow these kids' pockets, Biden's kids' pockets. We know we're not stupid.
Right. So here you have a prime example. We see a lot of people aren't awake yet on that. You have a prime example where you had $1 billion going to one company, and they ended up taking millions, hundreds of millions of that money and laundering it through 2 tech companies, and it came right back into the United States, into people's pockets. And this is just one example of probably more than hundreds of examples that take place on a regular basis of where they set up their straw people, they get their corrupt companies and their governments, and these governments say, okay, well, if I get $1 billion and if I have to shuffle, a couple hundred million around to make it look good, pad everybody's pockets, I'm happy to have that $800 million because I can do something with it. And it's just like when it comes down to when this $1 billion was on the blocks, they had stolen over in Ukraine. They had stolen billions of dollars out of the country. And when the new president came in, an entire country only had $900 million in the bank account.
Wow.
An entire country, because they had stolen, because a handful of people had gone in. It was the ex-president, some of his cronies had literally stolen billions of dollars from the country of Ukraine. So the Ukrainian people should be pretty pissed, and that's just one example. And the reason why they're bringing all this out and Rudy's doing what he's doing is because he's educating people on the system and what's happening, and what's going to end up happening is, some of these people may not go to jail, but it's going to wake people up, and they're going to realize, hey, our billions of dollars that our Congress appropriate every year, this is what's on. You need to shut that shit off. You ain't giving no more federal aid to governments so it can be worked right. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, she's worth $150 million. Dianne Feinstein, the last figure I heard, she's worth $80 million. Well, you'd have to be in Congress. You'd have to be in Congress 400 and some years to make $150 million, and that's before taxes. Yep. So where's that money coming from?
When you were in elementary school, do you remember that movie 1776 that we saw where the framers all got together once a year? They weren't career politicians. Once a year they met for Congress. And then after their little weeping session, they went back to their careers as bankers and lawyers and, publishers. This career politician thing is not even constitutional. There are term limits written into the Constitution. Enough with we need term limits. We have term limits.
Yeah, they just ain't following them. They're just not following. And you're exactly right on that. They, like you said, they would come in, handle business, and then they leave and go back to their normal life.
Right, their actual career. Sure, they were compensated for this, and it's outlined in the Constitution how and how much and how often. Not what goes on tonight. Yep, go back to their real job.
Unbelievable. It's really incredible. It's really a damn shame. Unbelievable.
So, you guys keep doing what you do best. I'm going to get on that letter to the powers that be, and let's give them a third term, if you're on the same page with me.
Yeah, I mean, they wasted enough time. Imagine what he could have accomplished had he not been swamped with all this bullshit. And they ought to, and Pelosi and Schiff and Schumer and all those assholes, they ought to be paying the taxpayers back for all the money they wasted.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, the thing of it is, even if the money doesn't get compensated back, you got people all over the country now, and even though mainstream media is not reporting it very much, but they have to a certain degree, you got Democrats, staunch Democrats, are getting sick and tired of this shit, this impeachment stuff, and people starting to realize that it's nothing but a scam, and that's why, see, Trump is a chess player, and he's 7 or 8 moves ahead of them all the time. And he knows that the longer he lets this stuff go on, the more people get sick and tired of it. And when it comes down time to go vote, some of the stats that I've heard of people that's planning on, because not only do you have Democrats and Republicans, but you got the independents.
Right. And you got the Bernie people that are really pissed off, too.
You talk about the red wave. We had a little bit of a red wave the last election, but this election, there's going to be a red wave. And and I can tell you, and you see, the other thing that most people don't stop to realize is Mike Pence has teamed up with Judicial Watch and Tom Fenton. Tom Fenton has been going around filing these FOIAs, and with these FOIAs that he's filing on the voter registrations, just in the county, just in the state of California, they found 2 million people on the registries that were either moved or dead.
Yep, I saw that too. I saw that.
They found 1 million of those in and around Los Angeles and over into San Francisco, which includes whose districts? Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi.
And let me. Yep.
So
how else are they going to maintain office unless they got dead people voting for them?
Well, anyway, let me tell you something about FOIA, okay? If you send the FOIA to the government and it's not, a FOIA for classified information, it's something that should be publicly available. If they jerk you around and they tell you it doesn't exist when it does exist and all that stuff, there's a penalty for that. That's a year. The one who puts Freedom of Information Act. If the person who puts his name on that letter says, "Oh, we don't have any such thing," and you find that any such thing does exist, he goes to jail for a year. So anything that they,
Spell the word you're using. A FOIA?
FOIA, Freedom of Information Act.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so if the person signing that letter telling you a lie, that they don't have the information that you're requesting, he signs that letter, you can put him in jail for a year. Okay? So if they deny a FOIA request and say, well, the information doesn't exist, and the information does exist, well, what they're covering up is got to be, logically, something that carries more than a year in prison.
Of interest, yeah.
Okay? Or it's something that could lead to something that would take down a whole bunch of people.
So getting back to the voter, there's 3,000 districts in the United States you can vote in. They found voter fraud in 2,500 of them, and they've gone through and they've cleaned them out. So these dead people, these dead people and these people that have moved to various states, they can't be voting twice.
Well, they should make, in New York, if you want to collect welfare in New York, they got this little fingerprint thing that you put your fingerprint on to identify that's you. So you can't go to, from Brooklyn to Queens and claim the same shit under another name. Why can't they do that with the voting machine? That would be, the technology already exists. It's not like the technology doesn't, and you can't argue against it because one person, one vote. And if you're not a citizen, that's in there. The fingerprint ID for voting.
And that's duplicates and sent off premises and double verification.
These 28 states that were using the electronic voting machines, most of them are now switching back to paper ballots because the two companies, the one in Denver and the other one in Canada, was owned by Soros, and they were able to manipulate the machines to change the votes. So that's
and that tells you something because he still won the election in a landslide. And I don't care what they said because everywhere they looked to count the votes again, they found all this voter fraud shit. So even with the voter fraud, He won the election. So if you do away with the voter fraud, they haven't got a snowball's chance in hell. But he's got to get off his ass to do something because it's coming up. It's only 7 months away, and he ain't done nothing. He ain't done nothing to pass the law. These machines cannot be used. You must use fingerprint ID to vote. If you don't like that, if you're a paraplegic, then stick your tongue on the fucking thing. But we want some kind of identification that's you.
And so the combination of getting all these voter registration cleared up and getting these machines out, and then for example, Q says, or a lot of other people have said, these people are not going to be able to walk down the street. Well, it's gotten to the point, Adam Schiff, he's gone back to his district and they're berating him, and then Nancy Pelosi, they were hitting her the other day, and then a couple months ago, Maxine Waters was getting her share. So just on what's happening right now with the impeachment, they're starting to get it. Well, you wait until the sex trafficking comes up again, and more of Jeffrey Epstein and people like Jeffrey Epstein come, and they start naming names. These people will have to walk down the street with a half a dozen bodyguards, or somebody's going to grab them and rip them apart.
Yeah. And I got Jeffrey Epstein's little black book with all the names unredacted.
Well,
I'll send you a link to my Dropbox where you can check that out.
All right. But just like I had said when I did my show on Jeffrey Epstein, just because somebody had gotten on his Lolita Express once and flew on it, well, even if somebody even went once down to his Pedo Island, doesn't necessarily mean they're involved. They may have heard of something.
But the compromise. If they got records, if they're in the registry, you get a sign who was on the flight. Aren't they compromised?
Well, down in St. Thomas, which is the island right next to it, all the people knew about this shit already. Nobody said nothing.
Yeah, because they were threatened. But no, to answer your question, no, because, for example, I'll just ask you, and maybe this may have happened to you, but has somebody, maybe some friends of yours, invited you somewhere and you got there and it wasn't what you thought it was, and you said, this ain't my cup of tea, and left? Well, just because you were there, just because somebody seen you walk in and somebody seen you walk out doesn't mean that you were involved in whatever was going on.
Right.
So,
but if you go down there 27 times, that means you like what you saw the first time.
You get on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane and you start flying on it 2 and 3 more than 2 or 3 times, then you know what the hell is going on, and you're there for a reason. Same thing with the island.
Oh, no, once. If it's more than once.
Well, I mean, if you're going there once, you know what's going to go on, because they're not taking you there just for shits and giggles and to take in the Bahama sun.
Nope. The second time you go, you're done.
I can tell you a story that I'm not going to say any names, but I know of an individual that went to Jeffrey Epstein's island. And when he got there and realized what was going on, he literally jumped in the water and swam out to a boat that happened to be coming by, and got in the boat. And, no, seriously. And he got on the first thing smoking back to the United States. I mean, he left. He had items and stuff there. He left his shit there. He got on. He literally swam out to a boat and says, "Hey, can you get me out of here?" And it took him to another boat, and he got on a boat and stayed. It took him 3 days to get back to Florida. And I mean, that's how bad he wanted to get off that island. So, there's some people out there there's other people who's been there and said that I was here 20 minutes and I wanted to leave. I didn't want to stay here.
My husband has to drive tomorrow. He's a professional driver. I've got to let him excuse himself. And the troops are hanging in there. He's got to drive at like 4 or 5 in the morning. He's got to get started. I can't.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Mary, for your time.
You're most certainly welcome, and like I said, write up the scenarios, put those names in it, send it to state of Tennessee, and send it to the Department of Health and Human Services for the government, and see what happens. And quite frankly, I would even think about sending a copy to the state police in Tennessee.
Yeah.
The police are in on it.
Well, you know what? Send the letter certified mail, return receipt, so you know they got it. They can't say they didn't get it.
Okay.
Put it in. You know what an affidavit of service is?
Affidavit of service.
Yeah, it's just paper that's included in the letter that says, on this date and such a time, I sent this letter to you, blah blah blah, name the name, and you just put it in with the letter, keep a copy for yourself. And in fact, if you can do this, like I did with Gurgle, take a video of you actually putting the letter in the envelope and mailing it. This way, they have no excuse to say, "Oh, we never got it." No, you got it. You signed for it. Here it is on video. Here it is, me putting it in the mailbox. Done.
So once you send it to their website, package it up and certify it and send it. So that way, there's no way they say, "Well, I never got it through the email, the website system. Our website was down and whatnot." Well, you got a hard copy because I certified a mail to you. Yep. And their phone numbers in there too. I would call the phone numbers and talk to the people before you even send anything. I call them up and say, "Hey, I got this issue. It's been going on for 5 years now."
You know what they say? When you call the senator's office and the House of Representatives and the governors, what did you do to get your children removed? That's just the point. We didn't actually do. You
don't have to do anything. All you have to do is have the type of kids that they're after.
Right.
Bottom line. If you have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid, male or female, you better watch that kid like a hawk.
That's right.
Yep.
Because those are the kind of kids that get. Yeah, I mean, you look at the statistics. Look who's missing. You don't find ugly kids. And no, I'm sorry, but you don't. I mean, really, you don't find any Down syndrome kids missing. You don't find those. Those are not missing. They never get abused. You know what I mean? The only ones that get abused are mostly blonde-haired, blue-eyed, male or female, from anywhere from 8 to 12.
Well, if you get any feedback on it, I'd love to hear it back from you, and I know Dave would too, and we can give an update on your situation. Okay?
You betcha.
Jennifer, it's nice talking to you. I hope this video makes it, lights another fire under their ass. I mean, if we have enough people to mirror this video and pass it around, and anybody listening, you got my permission. If you want to use this video, just mirror it. Put it on your website. Put it on your Twitter account. Put it on your Facebook. Make sure that everybody sees this. Light a fire under their ass. Because the only other alternative is not something that we want to get into. But if we have to, we have to. Got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you just got to do Patriot shit. Bottom line.
But it was nice meeting you. It was nice talking to you.
Jennifer, thank you very much for your call, my friend. And like I say, if you come up with anything, just let me know. You got my phone number. You can call me anytime. I'm up till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Don't be afraid to ring the phone. All right?
Bless you both. Thank you.
God bless you,
time,
Jennifer.
attention.
Godspeed to you, Jennifer.
Bye,
God bless you.
Take care.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Wow.
That's a story right there.
Oh, my God. 5 kids missing. I didn't know that when I first talked to her because she said she had kids missing. I said maybe 1 or 2. 5 kids. Oh,
yeah, and, systematically, they just took them one by one. They took 3 and then 1, then another and another. And it's just, I'll tell you, it just sounds like to me that for some reason or another, this church organization, one of those kids, and they went through, there's money involved in here. There's got to be money involved in here as far as the judge, the social service, foster care people, and this church, because they would not just arbitrarily want to go and get somebody's children. And it sounded like to me, they said they tried to get somebody else's kid. My hunch is that this organization, she's not the only victim of them.
Well, it sounds to me like they're an organization of parentless kids that want kids and got the money that just signed up onto this 401(c)(3) church, unquote, air quotes, church, to see, because they were involved with CPS and they're getting their kickbacks and all that. It's all they're all connected. Like all the Clintons, they all know each other. They're all connected. They're all covering for each other. They all got the Mason rings on. They all took the oath. They all run around naked in the woods in California, doing that shit and worshiping the owl and sacrificing kids to Moloch. We know about all this shit. But the problem is that people don't want to believe this shit. People, as many stories as you had on YouTube, and Rush Limbaugh had shitloads of videos before they took his channel down. I'm not Rush Limbaugh. Alex Jones had shitloads, tons of videos.
Yeah, and these three stories that we've heard over the last 2 or 3 days. That's not even a scratch of the surface of the stories that are out there. And this particular story right here, there's a lot of legitimacy here on this. And it just sounds like that these people were in a financial situation where they couldn't get out of at first, and these people just kept on after them to get their kids. And there were people all throughout. This whole thing was set up from the get-go. They didn't have a snowball chance in hell to keep those kids.
Yep, that's right.
From everything.
And you took one, and you didn't fight for him. You took another one, and short of picking up a weapon and saying, "Give me my kid back," because that's what they're angling for. This is what it's going to look. Will, I hate to say this. I don't believe I'm even saying this, because the only way that this is going to be fixed is for these people to be taken out, to be hung, to be tried for treason, to be tried for human trafficking, and not put in prison where the taxpayers got to pay for them and pay for their medical bills and their fucking one bologna sandwich a day. Fuck that. Take them out and hang the sons of bitches, and hang them in public. Put it on pay-per-view and say, this shit is what happens when you start trafficking kids in this country. This is what happens to you. Short drop, sudden stop. That's it. Let
me tell you, you wouldn't have to do but 3 or 4, and the shit would die down big time because it would get the word out. I'm telling you, you wouldn't have to. If you had 3 or 4 public executions on people sex trafficking kids, regardless of what the circumstances were, whether or not they were kidnapping them or they were getting them through the foster care system, or however they were getting these children, you wouldn't have to do but 3 or 4 of them, and all of a sudden assholes would be puckering all over the place. You go, shit, not me. I bet you $1 to a donut if you did that, it would never come to pass. But if you did that, all of a sudden you would have hundreds of thousands of kids that are missing show up.
Or either that, or if you had a crew of, you had a crew of militia people just going out and doing it, outside the legal system, because the legal system's a freaking joke. Just grab these bastards up and hang them up. Just grab them, put them in a warehouse somewhere, and just live stream the shit on Facebook. And by the time you figure out where the hell it is, it's all done with already. It doesn't take long to die when you hang from a fucking rope.
That's to the extreme, but
what else do you got to do? You have to defend your family, and these people have been brainwashed into thinking this is legal. There's no way around it, and they get into a courtroom and they find out that there is no way around this shit. That you can prove your innocence all you want to. They ain't trying to hear it.
She went.
So if you're coming for my kid, if you're coming for my kid or my nephew, get ready to rock and roll, Jack.
She had 20 people that was willing to come in and testify on her behalf of her being a fit parent, and they wouldn't allow none of those people in. That right then and there, that told me that, and all they wanted to hear was from these people from this church group. That told me right there, this whole thing was set up.
Yep.
And there's got to be buku bucks involved for this to happen.
No doubt.
And you can't. There's no way people go, well, not everybody's corrupt. Look, let me tell you something. When you start doling out the right amount of money, you can get some people. When I took an assignment as a manager for 7-Eleven for a while to do an investigation, and when I was going through the management school, there was something that was said, and those were statistics. It said, there's 5% of the people out there that would never steal nothing. There's 5% of the people out there that will steal. I don't care if you held a gun to their head and said, if you take that, I'm going to pull the trigger. They still steal it. But there's that 90% of people out there that, hey, guess what? If they think they can get by with it, okay? So there's a lot of people out there, and once they hear and see people getting by with it, they go, well, hell, they've been doing it for years. They ain't got caught. I'm going to do it too. And slowly you start bringing more people in because there's no repercussion for it. There's nobody holding these people accountable. And if you started going in and start looking at their bank accounts and start asking them, okay, where the hell did you get your money? Okay, then all of a sudden they can't account. I mean, if you're a social service worker making $40,000 or $50,000 a year, and you're filing taxes on $80,000 or $90,000, if you're filing taxes, or let's say they go look in your bank account, and after taxes you got $30,000 coming in from your paycheck, but over that course of the year, your bank account has had over $80,000 or $90,000 worth of deposits in it. All right, well, where did that other $50,000 or $60,000 come from?
Right.
That's unreported income. Where did that income come from? So it's not only they could use the tax mean to audit these people to find out, okay, well, you got all this undisclosed income, and at that point in time, it's not so much that you're interested in getting the tax out of them. It's interested, where did that money come from? What ill-gotten gain did you do? And, you work for the foster care system. You're a child protective service and a social service caseworker. Oh, really? So where did you say you got that extra $50,000 that you didn't report on your taxes from?
Yeah, the problem is that most of these people that do that kind of shit, they got offshore accounts and with secret numbers. They don't even know they have the money. So the way you screw these people is the only way to screw these people is to change the money. When you change the money, then nothing can change hands until it's proven where you got the money. And
right.
And you don't have to take them to court. You don't have to have extradition. You don't have to you don't have to negotiate with foreign governments who are not going to cooperate because half of their fucking economy is based on this shit. And you just say they can't prove where they got it. They lost it. Done.
And the other thing is, and another way you can catch people doing this is, let's say they're not that extra $50,000 in the bank account, they're hanging on to it for cash. Okay. Well, then what you do is you start looking around and see their lifestyle and what are they paying cash for? Oh, they bought a brand new car for $25,000. You start looking around and say, okay, where's the money? Oh, I'll pay cash for it. Oh, you got a $10,000, $12,000 boat. How did you pay for that? Oh, I paid cash for it. Oh, you got this. Oh, I pay cash for it. You got that. I pay cash for it. All of a sudden, you start adding it up, and over the course of a year, they've been bought $30,000 or $40,000 worth of stuff, and they've been paying cash for it. Well, where does cash come from? They come from your bank account. So that's another way that you can catch them. There's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes down to finding money and finding where the money's coming from.
Yeah, but the only problem is the people who should be skinning the cats are the cats.
That's the problem, because they're getting paid off. They're getting paid off too.
Yeah, like I said, I was on the program with Dr. Stan Monteith. This was 2004, and they were worrying about when 9/11 happened, and they got up there and said, "Oh, we couldn't connect the dots." I said, "Yeah, you can't connect the dots because you are the fucking dots. You the dots."
Right. And the other aspect is when you're looking at this financial thing, if you ain't got to catch but one, and when you start dangling 10, 12 years in front of them, okay, then now all of a sudden, but it's a good possibility you might get probation, but you're going to tell me who's covering for you.
Yeah.
Where is all this coming from? And then that's how, like I said, you don't have to catch but one. And if they stay alive long enough. I mean, here you had out in Arkansas, they had that one guy. His name was D.A. Jones. They offed him. Well, there was no, it wasn't D.A. Jones.
Like,
they were going to.
They killed 2 kids.
Him.
They killed 2 kids and put them on a fucking railroad tracks because they saw the airplane land with the drugs.
Yeah, well, that teenage kids they offed out there in Mena. I know of. I think there's more, but I know of at least 7 people that they took out because those folks knew what was going on as far as the drug trafficking. And I know of 7, and those 2 kids were those 2 teenage kids, just being teenage kids, going around, snooping around, having nothing else to do out in the middle of Mena, Arkansas. I mean, what the hell is there to do in Mena, Arkansas, right? And they stumble across this airport and they're snooping around and get caught. Next thing you know, they're dead.
Yeah.
And that's, but you see, these people that are running this money, regardless of how they're running, they don't give a damn who you are or who gets in their way. If they think you're going to take down their operation, they will take you out. Period.
Yeah, that's right.
They will take it. They don't care, what your social status is, how much money you're worth, what rank you are in the military, where you stand in government. And if they think you are going to mess up their operation, they will take you out. I mean, there's 3 state senators that I'm getting ready to be putting up on my next show if I can get this damn computer to work. Where you had one in Atlanta, one in Oklahoma, and one over in Arkansas that were proponents of they were critics of the foster care system. The one in Arkansas and the one in Oklahoma had stumbled into this big organization that was going on that 20-some people, close to 30 people got arrested and convicted over that, from corporate executives down to preachers, judges, congressmen, senators. I mean, it's a just big ass list. And they put all the very elaborate, put all the chess players into place, and they were able to work the system to get the money out of the system, funnel it around, and put it in their pockets. Is basically what it was. And this senator stumbled across it. They had she stumbled across just $27 million of their dollars where they had taken and invested it, took the investments returns, and was using that to get everything started. That's what they used to go around. I mean, you got $27 million, and if you get an investment at 7 or 8% interest, you're getting a little around $1.8 million. Well, you can do a lot of bribing with $1.8 million.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. And so once they got the people in place, the judges and the congressmen to pass the laws and the judges to look the other way or rule in their favor and so forth, when the rest of that money started coming in, man, they were snatching up hundreds of thousands of dollars here and a couple million over here. I mean, one lady at this healthcare, just through the email system, filed $2.2 million worth of fraudulent claims.
Unbelievable.
$2.2 million. What they did was they got 2 executives that was working for this healthcare company, and they got the director of billing, and they got a billing clerk, and that's all they needed. 4 people, and that company that was in 5 states, but that's all he needed was those 4 people. Then the 5th person quit and became a lobbyist, and then that person went around and started bribing everybody with the money and getting everything set up. He was the one bribing the judges and congressmen and so forth. Then as the money started coming in, they were able to, like I said, just that one guy shuffled around $30 million.
Wow. You know what they ought to do? They ought to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. Anybody who's offered a bribe to do anything in the government, make sure you got the evidence, because everybody's got a cell phone and got recorders on them. I record my phone calls. There's not a damn thing that goes on in this house that the 14 cameras I got here don't catch. Okay, so if somebody comes in here to try to do some weird shit on me, I got them on tape, and it gets streamed out, so it's not even here anymore, and only I can get to it. Okay,
Right.
so if you got somebody trying to bribe you to do some nefarious shit, say he offers you $1 million, we'll give you $1 million to turn him in and turn over the evidence you got, and if we convict him, you keep the $1 million. And this way, now we take that $1 million that we gave you, and we're going to take it out of this guy's ass. Triplicate.
Right. I had a high school teacher once, a math teacher, really nice lady. She wrote a figure up on the board, like $1.475 million. And she said, you see that figure right there? She said, that's how much money that I will make that I stand to lose if I ever get caught, if I was ever to get fired from this job for helping a student to cheat. She says, so if you ever, she said, she was pretty honest. She said, I can be bought off. I'll help you cheat. I'll give you an A in the class, but you got to come up with $1.47 million for me to do it.
That's good.
Yeah. So, I just told them, as far as I'm concerned, there's not enough money in this world for me to compromise my integrity and put my reputation on the line. No amount of money could you ever buy.
I ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, but you can't bribe me either.
And look, in my law enforcement days, I've run across some individuals that owe me big time. I ain't going to get into the stories right now, but they owe me big time. And they told me of the organization that they were associated with. My name is through their organization. You can kind of put two and two together now. All right. The organization, which was based out of New York. And they said, anytime you need money, we don't care how much it is. All you need to do is tell us, and we will give you an envelope with that amount of money in it, no questions asked. However, you do that, next thing you know, week, 2 weeks, couple months down the road, you're going to get a phone call, and they're going to be looking for a favor, see?
Right. Yep.
So, yeah, and the thing of it was, I was just being me when I did what I did to help this guy out. And I wasn't looking for anything for it to start with. And I treated him the way I would hope somebody would treat me before I was going to jail for 15 years. Okay?
Please subscribe to our backup channels, Net4Truth USA 2 Patriot channel, BitChute.com/net4Truth USA, and drop.space/@Net4Truth USA. We fly so close to the target, we are on our 5th fighter jet. We will be relentless and persistent until the enemies of freedom are defeated. You can support this channel by using the links in the description, but for a $100 donation, I will personally send you a autographed hardcover special edition copy of Land of Childhood's Fears. Also, visit my bookstore at lulu.com/Net4Truth USA. If you are viewing this video on BitChute, you can use the links in the description to support us, or simply click the green $ dot on our video to support this channel. Thank you. Links are in the description section.